How can you strategically align your growth plans with tax saving strategies to achieve financial success? By implementing effective tactics and tax savings, you can ignite expansion and pave the way for long term prosperity. Tune in to learn more.
Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth-running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining me today. If you missed my last episode and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on my social media pages as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when my podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Kasey Green is a seasoned tax strategist and fractional CFO, renowned for her ability to drive transformative results through strategic financial planning. With years of experience in tax strategy and accounting, Kasey has helped countless entrepreneurs optimize their financial performance and maximize their tax savings. Her expertise extends to areas such as tax structuring, deductions and credits, record keeping, and proactive tax planning. Through her guidance and insights, Kasey empowers business owners to take control of their finances, unlock hidden opportunities, and propel their growth to new heights. So, Kasey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, this is a topic that, of course, I love, being in the industry that I am in, helping people also with their bookkeeping and payroll and finances and all of that stuff. So I know this is going to be a fun conversation. But before we get into the topic, I would love for you just to share a little bit about yourself and how did you even become an entrepreneur yourself?
Definitely. I'm more than happy to. So I have been in small business for quite some time and worked alongside some small businesses, even as much as bringing them to market with the stock exchange. So I've seen how intimidating that can be, especially when it comes to financial decisions. And having worked firsthand there, I understand those challenges. So I got started to provide that support and guidance to business owners. I want to help them feel confident, comfortable. I want to see people excel within their business. And I'm particularly committed to supporting and uplifting entrepreneurs in order to grow and change that financial landscape.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's one of the things that people don't always understand about it is they're just like I just have to get the numbers done so I can go to the CPA and get my taxes and all of that. But they don't necessarily understand that there are strategies that you can put into place if you have time to start thinking about it and implementing them ahead of time, right? So I would love for you to talk about maybe some of those key tax planning strategies that entrepreneurs could employ to minimize their liabilities and still be compliant with those regulations.
Definitely. Like you said, not everyone has the time or the skills. It's a lot to know tax law. CPA, you're going to go once a year. You're going to hand in all of your documents and just hope. With a tax strategist, you do work the entire year so we can really strategize on what's going to work best. I'm sure everyone's heard of standard deductions like a home office or fuel or depreciating the car, but there's some really extensive ones, things like the Augusta strategy, where you can rent your house to your business, the accountable plan, where you can be both your employee and employer, really detailed things that you wouldn't know, cost segregation, just some big words that don't mean a lot unless you really learn the taxes, and that's where I come in.
Well, and the tax laws can be changing so frequently too. Some of those are the same thing. You've got a home office expense or things like that. But some of the laws change when there's, after an election and some things pass with a new Congress. So it's hard to keep up with it. So that's why it's important to have somebody like you too, who is focused on that year round, can really talk to them about what they can implement in their businesses. And then have the CPA file that tax return, when it comes time. So How can then the entrepreneurs leverage the tax structuring to perfect their business's financial performance and maximize tax savings?
Definitely. So there's quite a few different ways that we can do that. One of the ways I do like to go through tax savings, kind of project where you're at and where those savings are. Most of my clients for 2022, we averaged about 33,000 in savings. So then we take that and we look at the current growth rate of the market and reinvest. So then I can see those year after year grow. I have a whole structure and lesson on by when will you become a millionaire? And we work together to do that. Reinvesting, things like 401ks, if you're going through a normal standard, it just isn't paying off. That's why you need a strategist to look at your finances, look at your entity and show, is a 401k? How about a self-directed IRA? Should we look at LIRPs, at life insurance, retirement policies, things like that to grow your business and your wealth, right?
Yeah, it's so important because a lot of times too, your personal and your business are intermingled, even though technically, again, finances should stay separate. I say this all the time, business and personal, keep it separate, right? But in the long run, right, what you're earning from your business is flowing through into you and your personal earnings. And there's all of those different things to think about as well, and how it all goes together, especially if you're like an S corporation or sole proprietorship. It's all really one tax return anyway, correct? So
100%.
having those ideas and thoughts and really putting into place some of those things that will help you, I think is really important as well. You mentioned a $33,000 like on average savings. So what is kind of the size of the business then that is getting that return? Because obviously like someone who's making, a $50,000 just starting out obviously isn't going to have that much of a tax savings. And some of the really big corporations probably would have even more if they really put things into place. So what is that maybe average size that gets that return that you were talking about?
Yeah, that's typically around the 300,000 mark that you're going to start seeing those very large ones. When you're closer to 100,000, 200,000, we still can see some good 5-figure savings, probably just not 30,000. But if you're paying taxes, you're paying too much. There's not been a single client that's come to me who doesn't save at least 10 grand. Just pulling those tax loopholes.
Right. And again, looking into what has changed and how it fits, because your business can even be changing over time too. So maybe you've changed tax structures. You might be, a sole proprietor 1 year, and then you decide you want the protection. Now you're looking at an S corporation. So I think looking at all of that with a professional is really important.
Yeah, those things are huge. Entity optimization is a big part of what I do. A lot of people don't know where you should be. It kind of just bred into us that we're an LLC, right? That's how we're protected. It's the default choice. Everyone just goes into an LLC. But if you're making over 4,000, you're losing huge on savings by not becoming an S corp. So that's things that we talk about and we work through to help on that tax structure.
Right. And I think that's important too, to think about. I know when I was thinking about what entity did I want to have that extra protection, we were looking at, well, what are the tax implications and what are the legal implications? Because one can maybe save you on tax, right? So you might have a minimum tax you have to pay, whether you would have had that much or not, but yet you have the protection that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So I think there's a lot that goes into figuring out what is right for you. I know for me too, one of the things they said was if your business is going to gross more than, X dollars a year, an LLC is going to cost you more in the long run because there's additional taxes. And so really planning out what your future looks like too, like maybe it's perfect right now, but maybe a couple of years down the line, it may not be ideal. And do you want to have to change at that point? There's so much that goes into all of that.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And this feeds right over into financials. And we're starting to bleed right over there, right? Anything you do with tax strategy is going to hit your books as well. Like you said, it's not always business versus individual. It's going to work the entire route. But what we're going to be able to see is those tax strategies are going to save us in the long run. And we're able to reinvest that into the business, regardless of the entity structure.
Well, and you started to talk about, different IRAs or, whether you have a 401k or self-directed IRAs. And so how does having your business like even impact the financial planning part of this and how you make those decisions?
Definitely. So having the business in there is going to do things like assist you in going from a 401k to a self-directed IRA. Self-directed IRAs are usually best when you're an S corp, then you're both the employee and the employer. There's a lot of really cool things you can do. You can self-fund a match. There's just so many cool things you can do if you know the tax law, if you're able to kind of move within that code. Life insurance retirement policy is another thing that it's great to have on the individual. It's great to run through your business and get some of the deductions there. So they do really intermingle there between the two. I don't like to use that word as in the financial, but it works within your retirement.
Mm-hmm. And for someone who's listening who maybe doesn't understand the difference between a 401k and a self-directed IRA, can you give maybe a definition of what they are and how they are maybe the same and how they're different so they can understand a little bit more about how that works in their financial plan?
Yeah, definitely. So with a 401k, you're typically going to have that with a W-2. So you're not going to see that as many times in a corporate LLC because those are typically W-2 directed, where self-directed IRA, an individual retirement account, is going to give you some more flexibility on what that looks like. That's one of the things we really get into when we're doing these strategies. With a solo 401k, it's going to be a lot more self-directed. It's going to give you a lot more advantages as far as the catch up or the contribution. You're at about $27,000 a 401k through employers, typically a little bit different. So yeah, there's a few different options depending on what your business entity is that you would explore.
Perfect. And before we get into talking about, how fractional CFO can even help a business, some people may not even know what that definition is too. So can you explain what really a fractional CFO is, what they do, and how they help a business?
Yeah, definitely. So a fractional CFO is going to be different than just a normal accountant or bookkeeper. Well, those are great, right? Nothing saying that they're not, but they are going to give you the books. They're going to give you, here's a profit and loss, here's a balance sheet. We're going to keep the books clean. A fractional CFO does all of that, but they also come in to help your business grow. So I'm going to do a lot of KPIs, key performance indicators, as well as key performance drivers to see where we really sit. We're going to go into your expenses and see return on investment ROIs are, and really drill down to why your business is running the way it is and how we can help it succeed. It would be just like if you brought in a CFO to grow your business, only much cheaper because you're outsourcing them.
Mm-hmm. Right. You don't have to have someone 40 hours a week on payroll. You could look at what is the scope of work that's needed for this period of time, whether it's project or even on a monthly basis, maybe it's 5 hours a week or something like that.
Yeah. And sometimes you are. I mean, you're going to an IPO, you're going to a new investment board, and you just need someone to ramp you up to that point. You need someone to present your financials in a digestible way. And that's what we're able to help.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people know KPI, right? Like you said, key performance indicator, but they might be, well, you just said key performance driver. What is the difference?
Yeah, so an indicator is going to be what's happening. So what I'm looking at with KPI is that we are missing our income margin. And there's different indicators that that's happening. A KPD or key performance driver is what's pushing that indicator. So if I'm showing that I had my KPI for expenses is up and it's up in marketing. So I know that's my KPI, I missed it. My key performance indicator needed to be here. Well, what's driving that? Let's really dig down and see, not only see where that came from or where the marketing expense is, but why the marketing expense is there and what is the return on investment for those expenses. So it all works hand in hand. The driver is just pushing the indicator for then the result.
Mm-hmm. So if someone were to hire a CFO, fractional CFO like yourself, to come in and help them make their management decisions, how would that work? Can you just give them an example?
Yeah, so if you were to hire someone, the first thing that I would do is delve into your current book. So we jump in there, see where you sit, kind of audit the book situation, make sure that they're clean. And then we would figure out what it is that you need. Are you just needing an ongoing CFO? Are we replacing your bookkeeper, your accountant, because you're starting up and you need someone to be that partner in your growth? Are you going to an investment board? Are you trying to get a board of directors to bring on? What does that look like? If that's the case, maybe you just need a digestible version of a portfolio. Maybe I just need to show, here's your last 3 years, here's where the margins were, here's where they're expected. And that's kind of where we start. And then we move into what you need. It may sound a bit overwhelming, but that's what we're here for, is we focus on the books so you can focus on the business.
Right. And you can make the information understandable to them too. Because I know a lot of times, even, with us too, people don't necessarily even understand what the reports mean. And we want to explain to them, this is what's on the profit and loss report. This is the balance sheet. Here's a general ledger. You've got cash flow. Like, there's all these different things that make up their numbers. And a lot of people feel overwhelmed. They're saying, well, I don't understand math, or, I have a passion. I don't necessarily want to know all of that. I want to sell the cookies that I make, right? So maybe tell the person like why this is so important to have an understanding of your finances so you can make those wise business decisions.
Definitely. So just on the ground level, not knowing where your financials are, you don't know where your business is. It's just kind of as simple as that. You can see that maybe money's coming in, but you don't know where that sits. You have to know these basics, but beyond that, it's not scalable. There's no way for you to grow a business if you don't know how to interpret the reports. And a lot of times it is confusing. Here's a profit and loss. I see a whole bunch of numbers. Okay, let's move on. It must be right. That's where we need to dive into those numbers. And whether it be bringing on a CFO or whether it be us training you on here's how to understand where these numbers lie, it's so important that you see where your net profit or net loss is coming from and why. That's the only way that you're going to grow. It's the only way that those cookies are going to sell themselves and you're going to get to sell more and more.
That's so true. I mean, a lot of people, they just say, well, I am so busy. I have all of the hats that I have to wear for the company. I'm the salesperson. If they have staff, they're the manager and the human resource person. And they're like, I just don't have time. So I know it may be difficult for them to even sit down with you to really go over that information if you're working with them. So like, how do you help them like carve out that time to work with you so that you can make those improvements that are necessary in the business?
Yeah. So we try to make it as digestible as possible, depending on where you sit. I mean, if you're a brand new business, you're wearing every single hat. Either you have an accountant or that's an extra hat that you're wearing. So we take that off the shelf and put it on. So if you're a small business and you say, I'm so busy, you were taking time to do this accounting. There was no way that you're not doing the accounting at all. That's just running blind. I haven't seen it yet. So that's us taking that portion from you. If you're a very large business or even a mid-sized business, it may be that I'm doing so much. I had an accountant. They were just running and giving me the forms, so I'm fine. That's where we're going to take over. So outside of needing your time, I'm able to dive into those. I'm able to audit them and see if there's any errors, and I can work alongside your accountant and we can present those for you. But you should be taking at least a few hours a month to really sit down and do these financials, listen to these financials, walk through these financials. But if you're really pressed on time, having a fractional CFO or someone who's very senior in accounting is only going to save you that time that you're so in need of.
Exactly. So what are some of the common financial challenges that you have seen, and how does hiring a fractional CFO actually help address those challenges?
So I do often see that we don't know where we're running within our business, that we don't know what this is. A lot of times when I jump into like tax strategy, some people are apprehensive because, well, I didn't pay anything. I got a refund, so it's fine. But you don't really know what you missed out. You may have gotten $1,000 back, but should you have gotten $10,000? So I can't even jump on that board with you if we don't have clean financials, if we don't know where we're at. So I think that's probably the biggest I see in really up and coming entrepreneurs or small businesses. It just gets left by the wayside, or we have very blind trust in whoever we've enlisted to do this, that we're just letting them go and hoping. That's probably the biggest one I see. You just don't understand the numbers. And that's where we come in to make those work. I know that people are so focused on their business, and that's where we like to say that we're going to take that worry off your plate. Let us have that. Let us take over. You focus on what you do best, which is your business and growing your business and not having to worry about the nitty gritty details, the math homework that you never wanted to do in the first place.
Right. Well, and we've talked about, obviously looking at what's already been done and saying, well, let's see what other deductions that we can get that maybe would have been missed otherwise. And then planning for that for like the next year or the next few years. So we understand now the tax strategy side of things, but what about other types of things like strategic planning, goal setting? Like, how do you help with that as well?
Definitely. So we really focus on a lot of business growth. It's really important to me that if you're bringing us on, we help you with your full potential. So with growth, no two businesses are the same, and we get that. That's why we plan around the business. So your goals, your challenges, whatever the unique marketing dynamics are in your market, and we tailor make a growth plan to you. So there's no cookie cutter solutions. We have a full roadmap depending on where you sit and where you need to be. And then from there, we become a trusted partner. So we have unwavering support and we're cheerleaders. I'm going to hold you accountable. If we say, hey, the plan is that we only have a very small marketing budget. I can't have you being put that. You're selling your cookies. I can't have you put that into Facebook ads. Instead, we're going to have to hit the ground. We're going to have to do some guerrilla marketing, get on the road. And I'm going to hold you accountable to that. I'm going to say you were doing 2 networking events and how did those go, and push us through. But talking about strategies, there's no one size fits all. It depends where you're lacking and where you need the assistance.
Mm-hmm. Well, the accountability, I think, is really important too, because I think a lot of people know what they should be doing sometimes, but then they just, again, I'm tired, I'm busy, I have all these other distractions. So if you have someone else who's saying, well, you said you wanted this outcome and I'm going to hold you to it, I think that does definitely impacts the success of the company.
Yeah, we completely pride on ourselves on being personal cheerleaders for all the businesses that we work for. We guide through the obstacles, we celebrate victories, we push to new heights. And through the whole time, you have the confidence that we're going to conquer those challenges on the way and we're going to be at your side. Like I said, I truly believe in partnering with businesses and helping you grow. So that's part of that accountability piece.
And can you talk about how you help with like financial forecasting and creating budgets and all of that? And do you do it for like 1 year? Do you do it for 3 years? 5 years? Like, what do you do when you're sitting down with them to create those kind of the models?
Yeah, so we do work closely to understand those goals and craft the financial plan. So from budgeting and cash flow management to investment analysis, we really run the gamut. Budgeting is probably going to be the simplest. That's where we're really taking that look at your profit and loss in your balance sheet and seeing where we're at, talking about where we need to be and where our limitations are within those amounts. Again, marketing, deciding, is it okay for you to run ads or do we need to do more of a guerrilla approach? And then moving over to cash flow, people don't understand that cash flow is really the lifeblood of the business, seeing what's coming in and coming out. So we love to do analysis, jumping on that. When it comes to scenario-based trends, if I was to sell this, if I was to bring this to market, if I was to bring on an employee, we can actually go in, say you are bringing on an employee, you're going to pay them $40,000 and see how that's going to fit in the next month, in the next 6 months. If I'm saying this person is costing me this much, what is the return on investment that I'm expecting? And we can actually map that out and show based on your current trajectory what that would look like.
Mm-hmm. And if in the strategic planning and you know that this company is poised for growth and they're going to need, to have a loan because they need to buy new equipment, different things like that, do you help them create the business plan that the bank is going to want?
We do. So we work, because that's kind of a unique approach, that we already have your taxes and then we're also doing your financials. We get a lot of information that's really valuable. We also work with a lot of companies and have very great partnerships with people who grow your credit throughout your business. We can talk to you about putting one of the things when we're going to the bank is your business under your EIN won't show any credit. So that's where we'll help. We'll start contacting vendors to put things on net 30. As simple as, rather than going over to Target to buy something, let's call Office Depot and let's put it on a net 30 so it starts to hit your business line. And then we can package that all nicely and show a bank for a loan what your actual financials look like and anything that we've been able to put on your EIN.
Mhm. Well, that's so important too. People don't understand the difference too. There's a lot of things people don't understand. How can I have money in the bank, but I'm not profitable, or vice versa? How could I, supposedly show a profit, but there's no money in the bank? Or how is it that I don't have any credit for my business when, according to, the different credit bureaus, I, got a 750 or whatever, then understanding how all of that kind of coordinates and goes together. So I think having a professional who can explain all of these different things and why certain things happen the way they do, what reports are showing you and how they're different, even discussing cash versus accrual, like how is that different? I think all of those things can be confusing. And so having somebody come alongside like yourself and be able to explain and then help them use that information to strategize is so important.
Yeah, definitely. And we help with all the business credit building, credit monitoring, financing. And a lot of people don't realize that you probably don't have credit through your EIN. It's really rare that you do if you haven't set it up correctly. When people see, oh, I have a 720, that's on your personal. Great. And that's wonderful. And you can still get loans, right? But you're personally insuring them. You're putting your name versus the business. So we like to make sure that you're able to secure loans through the business, expand them and grow them under your EIN. And a lot of small business, they don't have the credit or they can't have the credit to put that type of money. So we help to build the business credit against the EIN, not the individual or the owner.
Mm-hmm. And kind of one more question, kind of along those lines too, is do you help them find like the ideal loan? Like, is it going to the SBA? Is it going directly to their own bank institution, and figuring out what might be best in terms of a loan if they need one?
Yeah, so we have a whole blueprint to obtain business credit with no personal guarantee. We help you meet lender and credit issuer approval standards before you apply to ensure your chances of being approved. And we help you access all legitimate business loans and credit loans in one place. It's part of the great idea of having a fractional CFO in-house.
Exactly. Well, I know we're coming to the end of the time that we have together for today. So I wanted to ask if you have an offer that you would like to share with our listeners. And if they want more information, how can they connect with you?
Definitely. So my website is figuredoutfinance.com, and you can reach me at that. You can reach me. There is an email and all of that good stuff there. But as far as offers, we are offering a free tax assessment or cash flow strategy session. Normally, we value these about $2,500 that I would charge to go through your finances, but we are offering it free right now for a tax. That means I look through 3 years of tax returns, see where you may have missed deductions, and come up with a plan on how you could fix those. And then for cash flow, we audit your books and see where there was a cash flow mishap so that we can assist you moving forward. Those are no obligation. You can take our information and run, or we can tell you how to implement it together.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Kasey, for being a guest on my show and talking about this topic. I know how important it really is to understand finances and have a professional, that can really guide the entrepreneur, especially if they feel overwhelmed by this. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in today. I hope you found this topic interesting and enjoyed the informative discussion. Would you please share my show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform? I'd really appreciate your support. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to my guest at any of the links that they shared, or you could send me a message at media@abandp.com. I hope you can join me for my next interview. And remember, you can connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. This episode is sponsored by Affordable Bookkeeping and Payroll Services. If you are overwhelmed trying to handle the financial aspects of your business, AB&P is here to help. Contact us today to discuss your needs at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.